For what has to be the world's hardest game, karuta is almost bafflingly simple. One of these cards is called, first the ticket gets the point, clear all the cards on your side, and you win.
That's basically it. So, what makes it so hard?
Well, for starters, there's 100 cards, and you need to memorize by heart every single one.
Not like you should, as in like, this is a physical requirement to even play the game.
Next, you have to be able to memorize the position of all 50 cards in play. All of them. See this part where they slam the cards across the room every round? The anime didn't invent that. You need to be able to put them back immediately. How long do you think it would take you to perfectly memorize the board? Half an hour? An hour? 2 hours? You have 15 minutes. A top player will take 5. Wanna be one? You'll need to do this about 7 times in a single tournament day. And make sure you properly forget every match before you start the next round. Don't wanna accidentally remember any of the 6 previous board states. Did I mention you should be keeping track of which of the 100 cards have been called? Oh, and God forbid any player decides to rearrange any of their cards midway through a match. I think it's starting to be clear why this sport isn't big enough for anyone to earn a living playing. So then, why do so many people care so much about it? Or rather, why the hell am I, a foreigner, sitting here playing against top player Tofu-san? Clearly, I'm a prodigy. Let's talk about karuta, because it's fucking amazing. So, the point of this video is to share with you what it's like to play karuta, but before we go out and touch grass, that's a Japanese pun for all you weebs out there, let's start with the anime, Chihayafuru, and what karuta is like to watch. So, at first, I thought the characters just fucking blasting the cards into the wall every turn was something invented for anime. You know, to make the show about a bunch of high schoolers playing a card game made from a bunch of 1,000-year-old poems actually entertain. I mean, like, this can't be allowed. No, it is. That's actually just how you play the game. Get this. This is the official competitive handbook. It literally has instructions for what happens after cards from other matches start interfering with your game when players start fucking Hadokening them across the room. What the hell? If only Yu-Gi-Oh was this hype. I mean, what would you rather watch? A bunch of sweaty weeaboos sitting around playing the game wrong, or a bunch of hot babes in Hakama do this? How is this game not the most popular sport in Japan? I mean, sure, the skill floor is higher than StarCraft. Like, again, you're physically required to memorize the position of every single card and play every 5 minutes because, like, Hadoken, like, Rasengan, am I right? But okay, also, you know those cards I said you had to memorize 100 of? They're from the Hyakunin-Isshu, which is a collection of literally 1,000-year-old poems that every Japanese person has to study in school. Like, imagine I got up in front of a room of people and told them I invented a card game, and step 1 was to memorize literally every single one of Shakespeare's sonnets. While I'm sure not everyone would immediately leave, I'm really not sure I'd want to talk to anyone who didn't. So, in order to properly answer the question of what it's like to play the world's hardest game, we're gonna give you 3 answers. One is the anime, which we're obviously gonna talk about. I mean, you're watching Weeb Jail, not Sports Ball Summer School. 2, what A-rank players Kyohiko-san and Kaseo-san told me when I interviewed them. And 3, I'm gonna tell you how playing karuta made me feel. So, the anime, Chihayafuru, is probably most people's serious introduction to competitive karuta, or if you're not Japanese, Chihayafuru is karuta.
And it's really good, so let's talk about it.
So, it starts with the main character, Chihaya, looking back to the 6th grade, to the moment she learned what karuta truly is.
何その目
She could see it in his eyes. Anyone could. It'd be harder to look away. His whole body coming alive the moment he leans over the board, exuding an aura that almost literally warps the air around him.
早い
It's not just that he's fast, it's as if he's living in a completely different plane of existence. Like he has something special, something secret, something amazing that she too could know if only she played this game. And looking at Arata, she decides that if she could take only one, just a single card from him, she'd understand just a little bit. And even just a bit would be enough. Of course, what she doesn't understand is that the one card she decides to take is the single hardest card for her in Arata's corner on her left side, and yet she takes it. And in this moment, she's able to take a step into, grab just one glimpse of Arata's world, and he too realizes that Chihaya, this funny girl who knows nothing about this game he's dedicated his entire life to, who is able to take this card from him, has something special that he doesn't. This moment is life-changing for the two of them, but not because it's fun. No, it's so much more than that. It's life-changing because it's passionate. They don't like karuta because it's fun. They like it because it makes them give a shit. See, the other thing that Chihaya realizes in that room with Arata is that because no other country plays karuta, no other country can play a game so very fucking Japanese, that becoming the best in Japan means becoming the best in the world.
日本で一番になったら世界で一番ってことやろ
And it's exactly this that causes the spark of passion in Chihaya. Not that she can be the best, but that she can be the best is exactly what makes her want it. That karuta is small enough that it's possible, but big enough that it actually matters. But really, when it comes down to it, it's not that either. It's not that he gave her a reason to be passionate, it's that he gave her a reason to be passionate. Taichi is told to be the best. No, he's told he is the best. Being the top of his class, the rich kid destined for greatness, he bullies Arata because he thinks that everyone else is beneath him, and Arata makes him afraid that that isn't true. And karuta is the first thing in his life that teaches him he was right. Because by being the best, you will never know how good you really are, but if you give it your all and lose, if you refuse to quit, if you absolutely do everything you can and still lose, that is the only way you can honestly and truly say that you tried.
青春全部かけたって強くなれないまつげくんかけてから言いなさい
To be clear, it's not just about working hard. Every sports ball jock and their mother works hard, but the karuta players, they work hard to be the best at something that no one understands. And that's what makes everyone else understand, because that's the only thing they can see.
私カルタのことはよくわかんないけど綾瀬さんがカルタを大好きってことはよくわかったよ
Passion is contagious. It doesn't even matter what you're passionate about. What matters is that you are. And sometimes, if that passion is great enough, it won't even matter to you either. What matters is it's there.
カルタって何がそんなに面白いんですか
そんなのやってみないとわかんないよでもやってもわかんないよ私なんか45年やってもよくわからないずっとわからないわからないからやるんだよね
Seeing this burst of passion from this quiet little boy, you'd think what Chihaya learns in this moment is why Karuta is so amazing, but she doesn't. She learns that Arata likes Karuta. She didn't even fully learn why until 3 years later, but what she learns is that he does. And so does Arata. After that day with Chihaya, what young Arata learns is that he doesn't have to be popular or tall or even win. He loses his glasses and drops out of the school tournament, gets bullied by his class, and yet his bully and this funny little girl can't help but be drawn to him. Why? Because he gives a shit. And because he gives a shit, so does Chihaya, who people follow, not because they think she's cool or sexy or because she's the best or even because they think she can be the best. They follow her because she cares. No one really understands why she cares, why she has all these people surrounding her playing this old, obscure Japanese card game, but the moment you see it, you do understand. You get it, you just do. At a mere glance, you understand why that makes this game so exciting, why it means so much to so many people. This is what drives this anime. Not a passion for karuta, not a passion for 1,000-year-old poems, not the hakama they all wear, sexy as they may be. No. What drives Chihaya, what drives every character in the story, is passion itself. There's a beauty in striving to be the best, of having something to achieve, of striving to be something bigger than yourself, of having somewhere and something to belong to. But again, it's not about striving to be the best, it's about striving to be the best. Chihaya does not play karuta because it matters. It matters because she plays it. Karuta itself is almost an afterthought. Obviously not, but okay. How about this? Why am I, someone who is very much not Japanese, talking about this exclusively Japanese sport? Why am I here in a room full of top karuta players with one of them teaching me how to play?
And if you want to get really meta for a second, why are you, yes, you, Daniel, why are you watching my video that I've spent months and months working on?
Did you care even the slightest about karuta before you started watching this? I fucking bet you do now. Why? Because I care about it. Why do I care about it? Because I felt that all of these people, the author, these players, the animators, all of them, they cared about it. Why did they care about it? If this were one of my Steins Gate videos, I'd make a joke that the universe is cyclical and this is proof that none of us truly have free will, but that's a topic for another day.
Look, I think we might be asking the wrong question. I mean, if you'll just give me a hot minute, I will share with you what the Nagao Karuta Club players told me when I asked them what karuta is like to play. Because again, karuta is awesome, but as far as this anime is concerned, it doesn't really matter. What matters is that they play it.
So, when Chihaya, reuniting with Taichi, hears that he has a girlfriend, she wonders if maybe Arata too has found something more important than karuta, and realizes in that moment that things will never be as they once were, that time goes on and that she has two choices. To give up and let herself float along with the ambiguous will of the universe, or to dig in her heels against the river of time and make the world realize that they could not have, because there is nothing more important than karuta.
Okay, so now you're probably, maybe, hopefully thinking, okay, King of Weeaboos, I get why you like this, and this definitely looks cool, but I don't totally exactly get what this game is about. They're just taking cards really fast. What is it actually like to play?
And I'll tell you about my experience playing it, but before that, I want to turn to my interview with the Nagao Karuta Club.
Basically, they're a group of ex-top-level players that meet once a month, and they just so happen to make videos, which I found and thought,
Hey, I make YouTube videos. Maybe they'd want to talk to me. And, well, here we are.
長尾カルタ会のカセオと言います。ランクはA 級4段です。
長尾カルタ会では清彦っていう名前で活動しています。でランクは A 級4段です。
カルタを始めたのが2000年なので24年前ですね。はい。
高校2年生からなんで20年前ぐらいですね。
Actually, before we continue, I just want to give
one more anecdote about just how insane karuta players are. Remember how I said a top player will take 5 minutes to memorize the entire board of 50 cards? Yeah, I didn't really believe that either until I saw almost every single one of them fucking get up and leave the room before each game started. I mean, to be clear, they did this because it's an extremely casual event, but I just want to give you an idea of what these players are like. Speaking of which,
カルタ選手になるタイプありますか？
熱中できる人。
おー、タイプ負けず嫌い、やっぱり勝負なので、
はい
負けたら悔しいって思えないと多分強くならない。
okay, so you might think that karuta is just a game about being fast, and while that would still be cool, there is so much more that goes through the players' heads than just this. Actually, first, I am trying to keep this as simple as possible, but there is one more important rule that you will need to know. I mean, karuta is a little more complicated than this, but basically, take the card first and you get the point. But touch the wrong card and your opponent gets to give you one of their cards, meaning not only do they lose one, you gain a card, which is twice as bad. Okay, so at a fundamental level, this game is about control, not just speed.
カルタは相手より早く取るっていうことが大事なので、
はい
自分が早くっていうことも大事なんですけど、
はい
相手に早くさせないっていうことも結構大事な要素なので、僕は結構そういうことを考えながらやりますね。はい。
理想はその自分が気持ちよく動くけど相手にとってはすごく迷惑な動きになってるっていうのが好きなんです。自分がその音を聞いた時に手がパッて出ちゃう。出た手に相手がびっくりして相手が動きを止めてくれたらそれ一番ベスト。
相手がやられたら嫌なこと、これされたくないだろうなっていうことを結構考えてやるようにしてるので、多分相手からしたら嫌なやつかもしれないです。
自分は音を聞いてパッて出ただけなんですけど、相手にとってはすごい迷惑な動きになってて、相手は遅くなるし自分は早い状態で取れるっていうのが自分的には目指すところです。
相手の目の動きとか、体の動きとかを見ながら、あ、この札狙ってるなとか、そういうのを考えながらやってます。
決まり字の長い札は相手が止まったりしてくれるし、ここで待って決まり字が分かったら突っ込むんじゃなくて、なるべく近づいて近づいて近づいてパイってこう。
相手はどんどんプレッシャー感じますね。
そうですね。近づいてると自分も取らなって思って相手が慌てて触ってくれたりとか、止まってくれたりとかっていうのはあるんで。
相手を迷わすために札を動くことをしますか？
あります。あります。この札狙ってるなと思ったらこっちにするとか、そういうのはやりますね。やっぱり嫌なやつですね、やっぱり。
So, something I didn't quite appreciate before entering these players is just how important mentality is to karuta.
Because despite just how much I'm going on and on about how difficult this game is to physically play, arguably even more difficult is the mental aspect.
メンタルが大事ですね。
だと思います。なんか相手にのびのびと自由にさせないってことを結構自分は大事にしてる。
やりたいことできなかったら悔しくなって、
フラストレーションってなるので、
そして自分の取り方や考え方は変わらないといけないですから。
そうなんですよ。
Karuta is about control, about controlling your body, about controlling your opponent, about controlling the game itself. If you were playing by yourself, then it would just be a competition of speed. But you're not. You're playing the world's most mentally demanding game against another person who is also pushing their body and mind to their absolute limits. And every turn, a random card is called, and only one of you gets to have what they want to happen. I mean, not even just the game itself. You don't just have to focus for an hour and a half. After you finish a game, you need to be able to gain the headspace to completely detach yourself from the game you just played so you can concentrate on the next one.
やっぱどうしても試合の間はすごく集中するので、終わったらなるべくなんていうか忘れるようにして、残ってると良くないので、なるべく忘れてもうあんまりこう振り返らずに、次の試合っていう風にするのが大事かなと思います。
忘れるために何をしますか？
そうですね。僕がもう本当にぼーっとする。一回カルタから離れる。 っていう方がいいかなと思いますね。
Okay, before I completely scare away any potential players though, let's break down why this game is actually playable. Like, neither of these guys started as A-rank players, obviously. Hell, not only do you not technically need to know all the poems in order to play this, in fact, most players actually don't, since all you need to know is the first like 5 or so sounds from the first and second half of the poem. Most people either forget or never bother to memorize the full thing in the first place. Next, you don't actually need to memorize all 100 cards to start playing. Something Kyohiko-san told me when I first spoke to him is that technically, at a fundamental level, you only need 25 cards to win. That's all you need. Now, while that's still statistically hopeless, if you know about half, you can sort of make a do.
50枚ぐらい覚えたら試合はできそうやなっていうのがなんとなく分かって、最初はもうそれで頑張って勝つぞみたいな感じでした。
So, yeah, you just need to know about 50 of them. That's, Okay, before we move on to my experiences playing karuta with them, just in case anyone influential is watching, I want to talk about one potential problem with the rules of karuta.
Actually, hilariously, I thought there was a separate problem that had exactly the same consequences: moving your cards.
Like, young Taichi does this to Arata after he hides his glasses because he's a little shithead. When Chihaya breaks her finger and has to use her left hand, she moves the entire board to mirror her right hand play.
君、一度に大量の札の移動はマナー違反だよ。
そうですよね。すいません。
Now, would it blow your mind if I told you that there is absolutely no rule about how much you can move your cards? Is that wild? Your first instinct is probably, oh, they should do that every turn to fuck with their opponent. And some people do. I mean, if neither player has perfectly memorized everything, which is, you know, impossible, but the cards are closer to you, then this is strictly an advantage for you, right? Okay, so at first I thought this was just the most Japanese thing in the world, that any player can just absolutely terrorize the game, and the only reason there isn't a rule about this yet is because not enough Japanese players are willing to be rude to their opponent.
But when I asked Kyohiko-san about this, he told me the actual reason.
See, when you set up your cards, you get to choose the position, obviously. But see, the thing is, because they're your cards, most players will set them up in the same general pattern every single time. So not only are they closer to you, you have this extra layer of muscle memory that your opponent will just never have. And so the second you start moving all your cards, that advantage completely disappears. Now, theoretically, you could practice like 5 or 6 different patterns to do this, but given how difficult memorizing one game at a time is, only an absolute fucking psycho would do this.
So this is actually not an issue, but there is one way people can actually completely terrorize the game. See, when I asked Kazuyo-san and Kyohiko-san if there was anything they could change about the rules, they both told me the exact same thing.
カルタってこうどっちが早く取ったとか、どっちが先に触ってるとかっていうのが選手同士で議論ディスカッションして、決めるんですけど、正直早すぎてよく見えない時があるので、
審判をね3人つけてもらって、剣道みたいな旗2つ持ってて赤と白があるんですけど、赤が2つ以上上がったら、赤の選手の1本みたいなあるんですよ。
Since, by nature, everything in this game happens in about 0.2 seconds, players aren't always in agreement about exactly what happened and who did what first. So players that are, and I'm being 100% serious here, good at arguing have a pretty non-insignificant advantage over players that just kind of go with the flow. So I kind of hope that this gets popular enough to warrant that, although if Chihayafuru didn't already do that, I'm not sure exactly what cultural impetus would have to occur to make karuta the sport it really should be.
So, anyway, while I can sit here all day freaking out about anime waifus and hakamas, easily the single most important thing that these players said to me was this comment from Kyohiko-san that made my head spin a little bit.
やっぱり見てて面白い以上にやってて面白いっていうことがあるんですね。やらないとわからない面白さっていうのがあるので、できればジュリエンさんもどっかでカルタを一回経験してみて、それをなるべくその言葉に外国語にして伝えてもらったらいいかなと思います。これをね、日本語にして日本語を英語に直してってなかなか 難しいんですよね。
確かに。
だからジュリエンさんが実際にどっかで体験したことをそのまま言葉にしてもらえるとより魅力が伝わるんじゃないかなと思います。
He's right. He's completely right. I can sit here all day talking about anime, talking about how cool this looks, but unless I actually sat down to play it myself, I would never really be able to understand this game that I think I like so much. Now, given everything I just told you about it, you might imagine that I would rather chew glass than actually try to learn karuta, and while I'm still considering that option, by pure chance, I happen to be sitting in a room full of top-ranked karuta players who could actually help me try the game without actually going through the full effort of, learning karuta. Since they had an odd number of players at their event, one person was left to control the speaker, Tofu-san, who graciously volunteered to teach me at the same time. A couple of things, though. For one, and I cannot stress this enough, my Japanese is barely good enough to interview these players, let alone memorize a board of 50 karuta cards in the span of a few minutes, so what Tofu-san did was tell me the easiest cards to take and where they were, and help me arrange them in ways that actually made sense. So, realistically, I was paying attention to at most, 20% of the cards in play, which is half of them, so 10% of the actual game. So saying my experience is not the full picture is like saying possessing the literacy of a slow high schooler doesn't make me fluent in Japanese. But all that said, I get it now. I get why karuta is so fun. Maybe not fully, definitely not fully, but by the end, I honestly really wanted to keep playing, and this is why. Chihayafuru often uses this metaphor of drowning, of the players lost in a deep, dark sea. And I get that, because karuta is an ocean. You're thrust into this sea of sounds, of words, of ideas, this wave of possibilities swelling over you as you try to muster the strength to find the one answer, rising above the wave of sounds, only for the next one to come crashing back down again and again and again until you have no remaining cards. It feels like you're locked in a never-ending battle against the universe, going over every row of cards, every possible option, again and again and again, trying to manifest some semblance of control over the half-second of chaos that is each and every single round of karuta. Over and over and over, again and again and again. It is a constant struggle, creating a mental map of every card in play, training your body to respond to each and every possible sound, adjusting and repeating and adjusting, again and again and again as the board gets narrower and narrower and narrower. When you're playing karuta, everything else disappears because there are so many things to focus on, because every single one of them is so simple, because you can never ever master all of it. You truly can get lost in the endless ocean of possibility. At its heart, karuta is an exercise in control of the game, of your opponent, of your own body, of the raging chaos of the universe itself. So, you can give in and let the raging sea consume you. Or you can swim and you can fight. That is how karuta feels to play. Passion is a curious thing. The entire time I talked to these players, I couldn't help but feel an intense love and passion for this game. And making this video, watching this anime, I realized just how contagious that passion is.
So I hope maybe a little bit of that passion rubbed off on you too. If it did, I would love for you to hear me out for just another minute.
1. Watch the anime. This might sound insane, but Chihayafuru is basically real life. I could go on for another 20 minutes about this, and maybe I will if enough people are interested, but let me just say, the author did her research. It is maybe my new second favorite anime. Obviously, if you've taken a single look at my channel, you should be able to figure out what number 1 is.
Next, you should obviously go check out Nagao Karuta Club's channel, because not only are their videos hilarious, they are honestly some of the most genuinely friendly and welcoming people I've ever met.
Kyohiko-san, he's the editor by the way, has made it really easy to understand for anyone who doesn't actually play karuta. Obvious caveat that they're in Japanese, but I've linked their introduction video which has English subtitles below.
Also, they did not ask me to do or say this, but you might have noticed that I'm wearing one of their t-shirts right now, and that's because you can buy one. I look so hot right now, and you could too if only you had one of these shirts. I'll leave a link below. Finally, I'd like to give an extra big special thank you to Kyohiko-san, Kaseyo-san, and Tofu-san because this video honestly would have sucked ass without them. As always, thank you so much for your time, friends, and I'll see you in the next video.